All right, my boys, what is up? I am Cody Austin with Fiveable. I took AP Human Geography last year. I got a 5-1 test, and they let me teach this. That's basically all I need to know about me. But what we're doing in the stream, you gotta know a little bit more about that. We're doing a vocabulary development specifically for spatial concepts and human environment interactions. During our meeting, we decided to lump these together because they're very important throughout all of AP Human Geography, but they're also very shallow. So it's going to be a very content-heavy stream, but we're not going to go very deep into anything. We're going to cover it. You're going to see it reiterated on and built upon in all of the units, but you don't need a deep understanding. You need to know what it is, basically. I'm going to give people like a minute to show up. That's normally what I do. When that gets to 3:03, because my clock's a little bit off, I'm just going to start going. Maybe I'll take less time off my watch on. I'll just give it a second. If the people counter stops going up, I'm going to assume everyone that's here is here. Anyway, how's everyone's day going so far? I'm doing all right. I want to hear from people who are here. There's a couple of you. Also, if my mic's quiet, it looked good in the setup. If you guys think it needs some changing, I can do that. I can raise that higher, actually. All right, I'm just going to start going. The people that are here are probably here. It's time. So, obviously, vocabulary development. What are we... All right, let's be real. Real talk right here. If you're not following Fiveable on their social media, they got Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, just do it. There's so much you can gain from it. There's good stuff on there. You can find more creators. You can get all the stuff you need. You can get all your Fiveable information. It's just think Fiveable, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, do it. It's not hard. You get a lot from it. It really is that. You love to see it. So in this stream, we're going over vocabulary strategies. This is a way you can study vocabulary words. You can really pin them down. 3 just separate ways. They're pretty different. We've got a variety of options for you studying that work for different people that have different ways of learning. And then after that, we're going to go over the key spatial concepts and the key human environment interaction concepts. You're going to need to know the important ones. You're going to need to have a basic understanding of them if you want to do well in the class, because they're going to be constantly built on, constantly reiterated upon throughout the course. And then in the end, we're going to have a Q&A. What did you guys not get? What have you guys learned in your class that you want to see a stream on, you feel is really important? What have we covered that you think we could do again, we could do better, because you just didn't get it? All right, so we're going to start off with just studying practices. The first one, it's the Explicate method. So when you're doing these, you're going to write a short little paragraph just of different things about the term you want to study. You should use different colors for different parts of it because it's going to help you organize your thoughts. And when you're looking at it, it's going to help you recognize which part is which. It's going to help separate them out in your brain so you can think about it better. So part 1 and 2 of it, you can see right here, 1 and 2, it's explain and define the term. What is it? Just the textbook standard definition. What am I looking at here? And then you're going to want to give an example of it. It's not very complicated. It's just what they say in class. You're not abstracting it at all. It's just the basics of, that's a bucket, all right. And then after that, you're going to abstract a little bit more. You're going to put more thought into it, and you're going to do that in a different color so you can help separate the different styles of thinking. Part 3, you're going to try and connect it to things. What does this mean in a bigger picture? Which is also going to connect to number 4. Why is it important? Why do you care about it? Why is this term a term you're learning? And then drawing a picture. Pictures are, when you're drawing a picture of something, you have to put a lot of thought into it because you have to suddenly detail it in a lot more than just simple words. It helps you build it in your mind more when you have to put it in that kind of detail. And if you're going to try out this strategy, it's normally recommended get just a notebook so you can have them all in there because you're not going to get these down on a flashcard or something. You're going to want somewhere separate to store them. If you have a whole bunch of paper in a binder, that could work because it's the same thing as a notebook, but bigger. So that, I'm sorry, I cannot speak today. I had some weird things waking up. When you're doing this, you're going to want to make sure you're very clear because you're going to have to study this, and you're going to study this way down the line. You're not going to remember your mindset when you're writing this. So when you look at it, you're going to need to immediately say, oh, that's what I mean. oh, that's what this term is, I get it. You can't have time to try and recall what your thought process was. And you're also going to have to give examples of where it's applicable, because again, you're not going to remember where you were, what you were thinking when you did this. So when you're studying it, because the exam's coming up, you're freaking out, you're gonna need to be able to look at this and just get it. You're gonna need to be able to look at it, and it's like they just went over in class today, you know everywhere it could be applied, and you're gonna be very clear with that. It also helps if you make these connections very personal, because that helps you a little bit more be in that mindset, because you're never gonna be perfectly back there. But if it's personal, then you're not gonna forget the fact it's connected to. And if you don't forget what it's connected to, it's a lot harder to forget it itself. So we're going to see an example of that later. In 2 slides, I believe. So when you're writing an FRQ, because you have all of these personal things, you're going to be able to really give it context, because it has context pertaining to you, and you're going to be able to connect that. It's already connected to you. If something's connected to you, you have a lot more investment in remembering it. And if it's someone in their theory, then just put how it affects how it affects the study, how it affects what you're learning, human geography, and how it's applicable in life, not some weird thing, how it works in the world, the real world. It's crazy like that. If you have 2 concepts that are extremely similar, you think, oh, I can do one of these, then just do it. If they're very, man, my brain's not working good right now. If they're very similar terms, you can do these, and they're basically interrelated. They're very dependent on each other for their function. If you know one of these, then you immediately know the other thing about it. You can just do it on the same piece of paper, the same paragraph. You can write them both, and that's also going to help you connect them to each other. You actively gain something from combining similar terms. You use less time and paper, and you already know a connection of it. Some of these are obviously going to be really short. Some of them are going to be really long. That's one of the weaknesses. This is a really time-consuming strategy, because you're going to have to write out paragraphs for every term. All right, I'm starting to see some people show up. If you guys need me to go back on that one, I can, because I know at least one person was a little bit late on that one. All right, Cheryl. How you doing, man? First person chat. I see you. Got 4 people here. Doing okay. Anyone that came in late need me to go over that again? Or were you here in time to see that? I couldn't keep perfect tabs of the people here. I'm not really sure on the delay. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm waiting a bit too long. I'm guessing that was all right. You guys were here for that. So here's an example of the Explicate method. This is obviously on migration. So you can see here, obviously they're all in the same color, because it looks really bad in a Word document to have things in different colors for presenting it. But here, they're obviously having the textbook definitions. They're just going to say what it is, and they're moving on. That helps you just remember, if you ever see a question is, what is this? You can pin it down. You got to know the textbook definitions. Then here, this is a lot more important for applying it to anything, and for FRQs, which is a big part of your test. Remember, that's 50%. They're saying how it's affected the U.S., and how it's affected them. Their family is from Africa. They were forcefully immigrated in 17th and 18th centuries. They're going to remember forceful immigration from that. They're going to remember the types of migration, obviously voluntary, involuntary. They have a pin to that. They have a personal investment in it. It really is that easy. And the next method, it's a Frayer model. This is going to work really good if you're more of a visual learner. If you like to see things organized by not rather than words, by actual spacing, this is going to be very good for you. This is what you're going to want to try out. Let me take a quick tab of the people here. All right. This is my slides. All right. Easy. Before I continue moving on with this, can I get a public opinion in the chat? How do you guys like the Explicate method? On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to do it for all of my turns. 1 being, I see no use for this. It doesn't work for me. And quite frankly, I don't like it very much. Yeah, I just see some ratings of that. Solid 4, all right. That's a pretty good rating. Again, solid 10. All right, Sherelle likes this one. That's what I like to see right there. All right, again, I'm sorry I don't get the delay, but I'm going to assume the question's been posted for long enough. So we're going to keep going with this again. You can see here, it's a graphic organizer. It organizes things based off of visual. It's got different boxes. It's meant to be in a spatial area rather than just, this is words, the end. Sorry. So, yes, okay, so this is going to, obviously, as I've said, it's going to visually display relationships between concepts, which is really good. When you're just reading something and it says these are connected, it's easy to brush that off because there's a lot of things when you're reading. And you have to brush most of it off. You have to try and pick out the important bits. When it's displayed in a graphic organizer like this, when it's displayed in a spatial area, a lot of people find it easier because you don't brush things off when they're connected so visually. You have to take it in, you have to look at it, and you have to analyze it now. Because when you're reading, you don't want to be reading. Let's be real here. You're going to throw information out. You're going to try and pick out the important stuff. When you're looking at a picture, you normally try to analyze it a little bit. It's a bit more engaging. And if you put your notes like this, suddenly your notes are more engaging, and you're going to remember more. Your notes have engaged your thinking. Yes, so each box, you saw the boxes right here. There's 4 of them. They try to help you look at a word from a different perspective. They try to give you a whole lot of different ways to view your concept, so you have a whole lot of different approaches to answering any questions about it. So the first step, obviously, you're going to see that little box in the middle. You just put what term you're studying in there, and then we get all the rest of them. Like the beginning of your paragraphs in the last one. These are always important to have. Just the textbook definition in the upper left-hand corner. Put that up there. You're probably going to need it, and you're going to be able to relate that. 7 seems in depth. We like the Frayer so far. That's nice to see your shot. I'm glad you like it. If you get anything, if you hate 2 of these and you really like one, I've still done my job. I've still helped you improve a student. It's pretty all right. And don't worry about your speed. Any chat engagement's all right. I can't complain about it. It's upper left-hand corner. As I said, you put the definition. You're going to be able to see how this relates to real world, because obviously sometimes definition's a little bit weird because they have to try and combine something that can be used in so many different circumstances into just one simple, short, concise thing. And it's good to be able to compare that. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to have characteristics. Describe it. What does it do? What is it? Not a textbook thing anymore. You just want to list the values that sort of make it what it is, the qualities of it, all that sort of nice stuff. These shouldn't really be as short, neat, and concise. They shouldn't be neat at all. They're just going to be a list of things about it that are really notable, that are really consistent. You're going to be able to find these traits and pick out what you're looking at really easily if you're not given the exact term. On the lower left-hand corner, you're going to have examples. Where has this applied? Where can this apply? What has this done, and what could it possibly do? And then the lower right-hand corner, you want the opposite of that. What are some things? This is definitely not this term. This is going to help avoid confusion, because sometimes they're really on the fence because you've only put things it is. You're like, I don't really know if it's not that. If you put down what it isn't, you're going to not have that problem. You already know what it isn't. You've listed it, and you can see common traits upon what it's not as well as what it is. And that goes a longer way than you would think. A longer way than you would think. I'm sorry. This is an example of it. It's a short one on agglomeration. Again, you can see deglomeration obviously is the exact opposite, because you don't need to just have what it isn't in a vague term. You can have exact antonyms sometimes, because that helps just as much as of a definition. If you have, this is exactly what it isn't. It's exactly the same as a definition. You just know it's reverse this, and now you've suddenly studied the definition in 2 different ways. Your brain's going to see that as a lot more relevant, because now you have the same information twice. You're going to say, why am I getting this twice? I better put this in the long term. This is going to be important later somehow. And you got the definition up here. This is obviously really concise. And you're going to have these. And this is a lot less concise. It's just like, they do this. Concise isn't right. It's not a lot less concise. It's a lot less, proper. I think that's a good word, because they obviously try to be, when you read a textbook definition, you can feel the textbook like grabbing a cup of tea, sitting down and crossing their legs, putting on their handkerchief and sipping at you. When you're getting the characteristics, you shouldn't have this level of properness. It's just, yeah, they do that. You should be able to simply connect that in your head. It shouldn't be something you really have to think about. you shouldn't have to sit down and cross your legs and put on your handkerchief. You should just know this. It should be simple and easy to understand. Obviously, examples. Hollywood has been a massive agglomeration of filmmaking. That's correct. It's just, what is it? Now you can have an example to pull out when you ever need to talk about agglomeration. Index cards. I love this method. I do this for AP Euro. It works great for studying anything. If you're going to make flashcards, and you have time, this is the only way I would really recommend it. Let me pull out a flashcard. I know I'm going to have an example here in a second, but I like to be able to have one on hand. So on the online side of your card, you're going to write the term that you want to study. This one's Richard III. And on the same side, you're going to write you're going to write one term one event, person, thing that happened before them, indirectly related to them, and something that happened after them. Richard III, I got something before him. I know there's a really good card in here, but I'm not going to look for it. I think this is a more complete one. This is a more complete one. Encomienda. Okay. So, the Encomienda, the Reconquista, very much led to the Encomienda. I know these are terms you're not going to get. This was the Reconquista. It was the expelling of Jews and Muslims from Spain. The Encomienda was slavery in South America. Obviously, seeing themselves as more significant, better than everyone around them in their country, it's going to make them think, I can enslave people in other countries. You want something that's not, this caused this directly. You want a more abstract view of it. It gets the gears turning in your head. You got to really think about what you're writing down. And then you're going to want something that came after it. It really helps me if I make it abstract as possible. I want it to be a bit of a stretch. You can almost say, I don't think that's true. As long as I can justify it, I want it to be as weird as possible. I want it to be as out there as possible. I put Da Vinci started the Second World War because he did design of tank. And now I'm going to really remember who Da Vinci is because I'm like, haha, that's funny. That's a weird out there thing. If you don't like abstracting things, don't abstract things. That's just how I think it works best. But sometimes people's brains, they like a more direct thing. And they'll remember that really good. If you remember a direct thing good, just do it. On the opposite side of the card, you're going to see this theme in all of these. You want the textbook definition of the term. What was it? Who were they? What did they do? In short, concise terms, pretty proper. And then for the second term, you're going to put a B down. I got this right here. You're going to see a picture in a second. You're going to put when it was relevant. Do not put for people their birth date and their death date. So you do this for each unit. I do this for each unit. If it's a really vocab intense unit, I'll do it twice per unit. I'll do the first half and I'll do the second half for my AP Euro because we're in the beginning of the year. We have really vocab intense units, and I'm not making 50 of these in one go. It's just not happening, so I'll split it up. Where do I store all of my cards? I generally take them with me in case I have time to study. I get rubber bands, and then I put them all like this. This is side with all of them on it. I put them in a big bundle. I have my unused cards at the front, and then I have Unit 12A and 12B, and it goes back, and I bundle each unit separately, and then I put them in a bigger bundle in case I ever need to pull out just one unit. And that's how I keep them. I just carry them with me. I keep them on my desk when I'm not carrying them. That's all I really do with them. They're not really that bulky, because once you're really past something, don't keep making these bigger. Keep them for a couple units and then put them in long-term storage in your backpack or something, and maybe in the side pockets. That's what I plan to do. But while I'm still less than 2 units ahead, I'm keeping them on me. All right. Oh, yes, people. Don't put birth date and death date. When they were born, no one was like, oh my God, this is the greatest philosopher I've ever seen. He's just so smart. They were a toddler. No one cared. Put when they started picking up relevance, when people started to know their name, when they started making works. And then if they were suddenly just executed and people still really cared who they were, they just died, you can put their death date, but they might have fallen out of relevancy well before their death and they just kind of died at some point. If so, put when they stopped making works and when no one really knew what they were up to. I got some pictures of this. This is, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize where you saw. Examples, what you put on the front side. Yes, actually, I have this picture right here. This is the example that my teacher gave to us. disregard the 29 out of 30. I swear, he just said there was nothing wrong with it. I just don't give 100s unless it's amazing. So the Black Death, obviously this one, he says Marco Polo is an indirect cause of the Black Death, because if you don't know who Marco Polo is, he was the guy that really founded the idea of traveling somewhere foreign to study things and discover things. He went over to Asia and he found things, and he wrote about them, and he went back to Europe and he was like, look at this great stuff I found. And suddenly everyone has this concept of traveling. The Black Death likes the idea of traveling. It's people getting into contact through trade to trade these cool goods and discoveries they found, people going over here and there and bringing all their diseases with them. That's what brought the Black Death over to Europe, and that's what this card was concerned with. And then an indirect thing, tell me if you need me to explain that more in depth, I can. An indirect thing caused by it was the Crusades, because the Black Death displaced a lot of people. And the Crusades was caused by displaced people being over there in that Holy Land. I want that. I don't like them being there. And I want only these people to be there. Maybe some people that wanted it were suddenly there and they're like, we could do that more. We could have more of them there. We could have only Christians in the Holy Land, actually. And suddenly they were crusading. I think I just need better. All right, let's go. Oh, that's not what I wanted to open. All right. If you do need... Oh, that's what I did. Okay. If you need me to keep going over this, I can, because I got time today. There we go. I understand where I am now. This is the back of it. Definition, you can see it's very concise. It's just a disease. East Asia. It killed about 1/3 of the European population. That's what it is. B, I wrote out what it is here. That's what all that crazy stuff is. It was from the early 14th into the 15th centuries. It obviously started 1340s, and then it went for a really long time into the 15th centuries. That's not hard to understand. You just write when it was a thing, when it was an important thing. And then the importance, the mass death, it leads to a lesser approach to religion. People don't care about it as much because they're like, wow, I'm going to die and life also sucks. So they start living in the moment, and that leads to a lot of social changes we see coming out of it into the Renaissance. It also led to a weakening of feudalism, because suddenly labor was really expensive, because the demand for labor was the same, but the supply just plummeted. All of these people died, and that led to the preface to the end of feudalism, because suddenly these peasants had a lot of power. They could gain wealth from their labor, and obviously that presents a lot of problems for keeping them down. That's the last of our study methods. Let me put that's all I need to do for now. That's the last of the study methods. Which one do you guys think you like the best? Is there any you think I need to just go back and run over really quick? Which one do you guys like the least? Because I want to see if oh wait. Like the last one. So do you turn the card over to see if you can remember? That is a way. There's a lot of approaches studying with this one. You can just say you can look at the front and just say, try and recall what was on the back. That's what I normally do, because that's what works for me. You can read the back and you can try to see what you can do with this information. You can say, oh, this caused X. You can work like that. The information it provides is so diverse, you can study in a more diverse set of ways. I can say I can read the back of the Black Death and I can say, oh, the weakening of feudalism. This caused the Jacquerie. Second, third method. I can understand not liking the first one. Personally, I don't think I would do it, just because I don't have the time to do it. These take me. I can do a fair amount of these an hour, but that already puts me at such a deficit of time. I wouldn't do anything that takes longer. I get that. Also, still like the Frayer. The Frayer is a good one. It presents a different way of thinking than most study methods. I get liking that. Spatial concepts. That's the next one. This is where we're going to start really going into the specific vocabs. Situation and site. So when we think of... all right, my bad. Site, it's what's actually within an area, the values and the objects within set borders. For example, in Paris, a river runs straight through it. That's part of the site of Paris. If there's something in there, it's part of the site. The port's within the city, that's a site. However, When you look over a situation, it's what's around a city. Again, Paris, it was so successful because it was right in the center of a massive, very productive agricultural region. That was part of the situation. The situation was successful agriculture around it. And if a port's within the city, so these concepts, I didn't get these until really late in the year. I'm glad to see it wasn't just meteor shot. You're all right if you didn't get these in class. You just want to remember a situation is what's around it, and you can get pretty far off of just that. Again, looking at the port that lies within a city, that's a site factor if it's on the city. But if we're going to pretend Paris is a coastal city really quick, because I don't want to think of any. Stockholm. Say Stockholm has no ports in it, but there's a port like over here. It's pretty close. It's still in an area that affects Stockholm. That's part of its situation. That's going to bring in pretty local trade that they can take advantage of. It's just not directly through the city. A situation you're generally going to see, it's looking at it in the bigger picture. How does this area interact with all of the area around it? How does it fit in to the economy around it, to the social factors around it? I can't think of the word. It's causing social changes. How is it doing that if it is? Whereas in sight, it's very self-contained. How is it doing what it's doing? Is there anything that makes it particularly successful or unsuccessful? Which it also is important to note, not all site factors are positive, because a river or a lake being on your city, it's going to give you a lot of access to fresh water. A river is going to bring trade because people can go down, and now you have local trade, really local trade you can directly benefit off of instead of having more things to buy from the close port. You can have the port there through your river, and you can have clean water, you can have fishing, all this cool stuff. But if there's a big ravine that just, your city's right here, and there's a ravine like this, suddenly your city isn't over here. It cut off how far you can expand. If there's a marsh, you'll find it very hard to expand into there. There's things that can limit your size, and that's obviously not too good for a city, for any entity. I'm gonna have to do everything because this is so concept heavy and these are such important terms. Are you guys getting that, or do I need to reiterate anything? Do I need to re-explain something? That's exactly right, Sherelle. Site is what's going on there. It's the land situation is what's going on around it. The external characteristics. That's absolutely correct. I'm not seeing anyone that doesn't get it. We're going to go on absolute and relative location. Absolute location, it's exactly where something is. All right. It's exactly where something is, no matter where you're looking at it from, where the person you're asking where something is, wherever they are, you're always going to get the exact same answer. If you're asking for the longitude and latitude of somewhere, you can ask someone in Paris and somewhere in England where it is, and they're going to say the same thing. It can't change. The answer you have has to be the same because it's not flexible. It's a very rigid thing. Whereas relative location, it's where something is expressed from somewhere else, which means that the location of it's going to move based on where you are. Now, obviously, where something isn't exactly going to, it's not going to get up and walk around. If you're trying to get to a beach and you start you're getting the relative location of it, it's not going to trot 10 miles down as you're getting close to it. What it means is your vantage point is going to move. You're driving to the beach and you see a sign, the beach is 30 miles that way. And then you drive 10 miles and suddenly the beach is 20 miles that way. The answer just changed. And that's not because the beach got in any sort of a different area. It's because you moved. It's because your point of reference has shifted. If something's across from Subway, but it's also across from Harris Teeter, then suddenly you can get different answers to the location of the same thing. And you're going to see this expressed normally as across from or down the street, in distance, in the area of something like that. They're normally expressed in that kind of a way. Here, all right, longitude and latitude of cities in the United States. So if we look at Dallas, Texas, we're going to pretend all of these numbers are perfectly right because I didn't look up the longitude and latitude of Dallas, Texas, but it looks like maybe 96.5 degrees west. And what's this? 32.5 degrees north. That would be the exact location of it if you ask me, and I'm down the street from Dallas, Texas. For the longitude, I'm going to give you the same thing as someone up in Maine. That's never going to change, and that's exactly where it is. If you guys want me to go over that, I can go over that. If you guys got it, you got it. I'm just going to start on distance decay. I don't think that one's too complex, but again, if you didn't get it, that's probably my fault. All right, distance decay. I don't know why I started reading that. So distance decay is a simple theory. As two things get further apart, they interact less. If someone in America is trying to talk to someone across from his house, he's going to have a lot more success there. Whereas opposed to that same guy trying to talk to someone in Mumbai would normally have a lot more difficulty. And this is normally also expressed as the friction of distance, because I would assume you know friction makes things slow down as they rub against each other, and they take away energy, right? Now, as you go across distance, it's saying distance is going to take away the energy things have to interact. Friction distance, it makes sense. But you also want to remember that if something's really prominent, if something's important, you can probably get to it. Like if you're really far away, you're still going to be able to interact. The capital city can interact a lot more easily with someone like 300 miles away than a little town in the same general area as the capital city is going to interact with that person or that city 300 miles away. You can see here, superstore, convenience store, grocery store. Convenience store, they have no relevance. Like really, why would you go out of your way to get to a convenience store? There's going to be more closer to you, and they don't have anything special at them. There's no reason to go out of your way. So obviously, as you get further away, less people are going to show up. A grocery store, maybe this is a really good grocery store. They have nice prices. They have nice items. But they're not going to offer anything incredible. This is the greatest grocery store I have ever seen. That doesn't happen. You don't hear that. So it's going to drop off, but less than a convenience store, because there are less of them, giving them some more significance. And you can have some preference between them. Some of them can have something better. Now, a superstore is obviously going to have a lot. You might see a great superstore, and the only superstore around that holds a lot more significance because there's very few of them, generally over a larger area, and they have a lot more specialities about them. There's a lot more to like about one over the other, so you're going to go out of your way to go to this one if one's a little bit closer, and normally one isn't a little bit closer. That gives it a massive leg up over a grocery store because there's one down the street. Why would I go over there? Superstore? No, there isn't. It's just not there. You have to go out of your way for it. Again, we can see this as you get further away from the home. See, less offending. That's a nice word, isn't it? It's just real simple. As you get further away, people can't be bothered. Nothing's going to happen. Well, let me check up on chat. All right, I think I've been keeping up. I thought I saw something move, and then I thought I hadn't checked it for too long, and I was having a panic attack. Basically, highlighting. I can agree with that. Highlighting, it's pretty good if it works for you. It doesn't work for me. It's one of those really subjective things, because for me, it's just my paper's yellow now. That's a strategy that works really well or doesn't work at all for most people. Time-space compression. This is the counter to distance decay. As we advance technologically, suddenly distance decay has a lot less of an effect because it allows us to get information across larger distances with more ease. See, if you look at this chart, you see the metaphorical shrinking of the world because suddenly we can get across to anywhere we want a lot faster. I would argue the world would just be a dot after the invention and widestream adoption of computers, because suddenly not only do I not have to walk down to South America to speak to some guy in Brazil, I don't have to fly there. I can just go on a chat website and it's instant. Suddenly distance decay is a lot less prevalent because there's nothing stopping me anymore from just talking to some guy from South Africa. I can just do it. You see here again, this is Young people have it so good. Hey, I would agree with you, but I can't accept that. All right, well, I had a point here. Now, the point was something along the lines of get good. Uh, look, if you look at it like this, it's a really good learning moment because I can just get so much more culturally aware, and therefore I have a responsibility to be more culturally aware, and therefore young people have it terribly and you're wrong. And that is my argument. I'm sticking with that. Well, great. What has caused the world to sink here? You can see inventions that they've caused the travel time around the world to sink. You can sort of see it increasing rather exponentially because it took 230 years to get 2 years down to 8 days. And a lot of that was really slowly. It was like 8 days now. Not a lot of progress was made for some time. You got ships for a while. Suddenly there were like trains. That was a jump. Suddenly it was that. And suddenly, or not suddenly, and these jumps in it became a lot closer as time went on. And suddenly in 60 years, it's 31 hours because the progress of technology has just gotten that fast. You can see it increasing exponentially as you go on. That's a fairly important thing to get down, but not super important. It's just nice to know things are going to get faster. Place in space. Place is really simple. It's just an area defined by what's in the area. People like my explanation. I can agree with that. It's just the truth, honestly. You can't argue with it. It's the values. It's the things we associate with that area. What's going on there? What's it got? That's all a place really is. A space has a couple different things. It can be the distance between different places, or it can be the actual extent of a place, how much it takes up, how much we're going on, what's in it. If something has a lot of the same things over a vast area, you might say that's a big place. It's got a lot of space in it. One thing with space, if you're looking at it from a distance between places, density is really important. It's just the amount of entities within a given area. But unlike math or science, I guess science, I'm going to pretend I didn't say that because I can't pin down what subject that I think is in both. There's not just one way to look at density. It's not just the amount of things in this area. It's the amount of things in this area proportional to something. Arithmetic density is one you see that's really familiar, especially when you're doing population. It makes a lot of sense. It's actually just the amount of things within an area, the amount of people within a country, the amount of people in this county. Then you look at something like physiological density. That's the amount of people compared to the amount of arable land, as opposed to just land in total. So you cut out a lot of that land suddenly, and the density seems a lot higher because you have to support these people with that, which means a lot of this land is just useless. We can't really do much with that to support them other than give them housing. But if you have housing and no food, I don't know if you know this, but you're not alive very long. It doesn't work too well. And then finally, there is, I just had it almost. Physiological, there's the amount of, oh, hold up. I'm blaming that cool brain fart on the eyelash being inside of my eyeball. That's what caused that. So you got physiological density and you have arithmetic density, but you also have the, I want to say, I keep getting it. My brain's like farming density, which is not right. If you say farming density, you're not gonna receive a very warm welcome. We have the amount of farmers compared to the amount of arable land, as opposed to just people. So now you're working out just how many things are producing something to support everyone, as opposed to just how are we supporting these people on this little amount of land. It's what all is working together to support these people. I just realized I might have shrunk below my camera. Sorry about that. Hold up. I gotta move this around. Let me see if we got any questions. We got no questions. That's always nice. All right. Oh no, what have I done? That's not what I wanted to do. Easy. All right. And then also with density, you want to look at concentration. I know that sounds really similar because you just look at that and say density and concentration. But steel weighs more than feathers, right? And concentration isn't just how many things are in an area; it's how they're strewn about in that area, how they're organized. One might say. So do I have an example after this? I do have an example after this. This is concentration of kudzu. Kudzu is not important, but it's a Japanese plant. It's viney. So you can see here that it's concentrated around here. This is where it is. This is how it's organized. And there's a little cluster right here, and it starts being concentrated in a more dispersed manner once you get further out. All over Georgia. You do have that all over Georgia. It's just a green state now. Had to do it to them. You got North Carolina too. There's just no escaping it there. I can confirm there is no escaping it there. And when you look at this, obviously you see concentrated here. It gets more dispersed around here. There's little chunks of it here. You might say there's a linear concentration right here because there's a little line of it. You can see that in a couple areas. That might be stretching it, but also using vocab terms on any question is probably a good idea if you can fit it in there with an answer you know is right. And patterns a lot of time are patterns in concentration, obviously. So this is very similar. Nucleated, it means it's clustered around something that's a nucleated concentration. So that's a pattern right there. There's something here which has decided to make them all clump up around it. They want to be there. Here it's a crossroad between roads, which is pretty reasonable. It's going to give them a lot of trade. It's going to give them a lot of people going by. Linear, they're following something that's usually a railroad. It's a river, a road, something like that. They're just going along it. They're seeing where it goes. That's all they're really. You'll see a line. That's how you see these. These are really easy to distinguish. You see clumps, little dots around here, or just like a big area that's all decided to show up. You see a line. You see dispersed, which means there's dispersed is a pattern of a lack of a pattern. You'll very rarely see this. The only example I've seen was in some parts of Switzerland. They have dispersed housing where people just decided my house goes here, and someone said, oh, my house is over there. There was not really much of a pattern. It just kind of happened. If you're ever looking at people in societies like these houses, they're normally going to be nucleated or linear. They're going to have a reason to be where they are, as opposed to, yeah, my house goes over here. Patterns, off from concentration to patterns. Patterns are just relationships between a phenomenon and where the phenomenon is. And for it to be considered a pattern, obviously it has to be consistent. I'm sure you've learned this in elementary school. A, B, A, B, A, B, etc. And this is going to tell you, you shouldn't, when you look at a pattern, you shouldn't say, yeah, that's a pattern. That's pretty cool. I'm done. I will have to Google that and see what that looks like. You shouldn't just look at it, see, yeah, A, B, A, B. That's cool and all, but I don't need that. I'm done here. You should be able to look at that pattern, internalize it, and look at something else with the pattern without the information that gave you the pattern and be able to fill in the dots. If you look at, this is a spoiler here, but basketball teams, if you look at them and they're all in areas with a lot of population, because you can see the population and you can see basketball teams all over there and nowhere else. You might say basketball teams are where the population is. This is amazing. This is crazy. This is absolutely groundbreaking. And then you see another map of somewhere else with no population information, no prior knowledge of population, but basketball teams for whatever reason. You should be able to look at that and say, there's a lot of basketball teams right there. I think that's where the people are. There's absolutely no basketball teams over here. There must be no one over there. That we forgot about that bit. We forgot to put people there. You should be able to take that, fill in the dots, just like that. And it should also be noted, most things have a pattern. Obviously, there are a couple examples of things that don't, but generally it will. There's going to be something. If you look at something and you say, this breaks my pattern, there's no pattern here, you're probably wrong, I'm sorry to say. If you think it's breaking your pattern, you should take a deeper look at it, and you might discover a new pattern or just a quick change to your pattern, and suddenly it's right again. or there's an entirely separate pattern and you are a genius, you found something new, oh my god. And if you just think there's no pattern here, look a little bit deeper, there might be a reason there. A good way to go about this, factories. You might look at a factory and say, I think factories are where what their building is made out of. They're by the raw resources they're going to use. Because look at these car factories. They're all by that. Those factories over there. There's some steel over there. I think there's coal right there. They're using coal. It makes sense. They're all by what they're using. And then you find a Coke bottling factory and you say, this is stupid. It's nowhere near what they're using. And quite frankly, I don't like it. It's dumb. There's no pattern. My pattern is broken and all is lost. You're wrong. You look a little bit deeper and you notice a new pattern. Factories that lose weight when they're making something, we call those bulk reducing factories or industries. They're by what they're making is made out of. They're by their raw resources because their resources lose weight. It's cheaper that way. Whereas this Coke bottling factory, it's going to gain weight while they're making it because they have to put liquid in it and suddenly it weighs a lot more. And then they have to ship that out to where they want to be. So now you have two patterns. Industries that gain weight when they're making a product are going to be by their markets, and industries that lose weight are going to be by their raw resources. And now you have more information. Look, you talk about least cost theory. Least cost theory is such a good thing. It makes you sound so intelligent when you talk about it. It's good. It's just things that lose weight are by their raw resources and things that don't are by their markets. It makes you sound really cool. Learn it. You have learned it. It's great. Again, I told you about a spoiler alert. Hey, what's that? It's the NBA in the 1950s. That's a basketball team. Now, if you know anything about 1950s America, people lived right here, and they didn't live right here. That's a little bit of a simplification, but overall, it hangs true, and you can see that reflected when there are an overwhelming amount of basketball teams right here, and there's almost none right here, which is a lot larger landmass. You would assume that if everyone lived everywhere, they would be spread pretty evenly. But we know they aren't, and we can see the basketball teams reflect that. So then we look at the ABA and the NBA, and 75 and 76. Obviously, it isn't modern, so we haven't quite completely moved away. But you can see things move. There's obviously a lot of teams over here. The red dots are NBA. The symbols are ABA, in case you didn't notice. There's still a concentration of them up here. There's a lot of people here. Well, suddenly there's a reasonable amount right here. We can see them in Oregon. We can see them in Washington. They've moved as the people have moved. The center of population and industry has moved west and south. And the basketball teams reflect that. People have moved to Louisiana. They put a basketball team there. People have moved to California. They put 3 basketball teams there. There was 1 basketball team in all of this in the 1950s, and now there's 3 in California alone. There's 2 in Texas. You can see that the population has moved very significantly. All right, before we go to questions about the spatial concepts, anything anyone didn't get, anything you want me to run over again, I can do it. Then we're going to have just some quick practice questions before we move on to the rather short human-environment interactions. And then you're good. You're golden. We have a Q&A and we're done. It's that easy. Anything anyone didn't get? Or are you all good? You're all just that smart. No, good. Very funny. And I'm glad to see it's been funny. I'm not the only one that likes my jokes. Everyone seems good. That's nice to know. We're going to go on to questions. All right. So, which would experience a higher customer drop-off over distance, a mall or a Walmart? Where are people going to be willing to go further to get to? Anyone got any cool gamer answers in the chat? Oh, I got one in. I don't want to read it out in case you're watching on the VOD. I don't know what we call these things, but I'm going to call them the VOD. All right. So what the answer is going to be, because we got 50% participation, which, I mean, I'm perfectly pleased with that. I can move on. A mall is going to experience a larger pull. More people are going to be willing to go further for it because there's a lot more things at the mall to specialize it in, and there's a lot less malls overall. Whereas a Walmart, you probably have your local Walmart, and if you don't, then there's a Walmart pretty close by. So you don't want to go like an hour's drive to go to Walmart, whereas you might for a mall, because there's a lot of different things there that's not at your local mall. And there's not a lot of other malls to go to other than your local mall you've been to a million times, so you're going to go there. Where's your Walmart? You know, the Walmart over there's got the same things. I don't care about it. And there's no real reason. You got a Walmart right here. And there's nothing special about the other Walmarts. Why would you go there? Second question, the only other question. Does this sign show the absolute or relative location of traffic circle downtown, S coastal route Kittery, S Berwick, that kind of stuff? So nervous about that one? Rashad, now you might say you're so nervous about this one, but you were correct. Relative and relative. Relative is the answer I am receiving, and relative is the correct answer. It shows the distance of it relative from this sign. A sign half a mile back there is going to put this a mile up there, and it's going to put 1.25 miles up there. You guys got it. You guys are good at this. GG moment. Human environment interactions. It's the next bit. Wow. This is incredible. We're almost done. There's so little left. You're going to make it. Our human environment interactions, what we got here is we have two very different approaches to how humans are affected by their environment, how their relationship between it goes. And the first big one is environmental determinism. This states that the environment kind of just says how people are going to be. Based on where they are, their social structures, their social norms are going to be a certain way. Their economy is going to develop a certain way. Their armies are going to develop a certain way. They're going to have certain wars, and the environment has done all of this. Humans play a very passive role in their relationship with the environment. The environment just kind of does its thing, and humans say, all right, that's cool, and accept it. They don't do anything about that. It just happens. A big thing with environmental determinism, two big things actually, two big examples, real world examples. One where it kind of rings true. Britain had, and Europe had the Industrial Revolution first. This was because they had access to things like coal. Now, coal is really important in this because you use it to burn smoky thing, fuel. Wow, they needed that for the Industrial Revolution. And something where it doesn't ring true, and this is the kind of thing that really puts a damper on environmental determinism, is the Jamaican stereotype that they are very lazy, they're very laid back, they don't do much. Environmental determinism says, yeah, it's true, it's because they're on an island. Obviously, it doesn't ring true so much, and that's been a lot of the argument against it. It says that a lot of it is not true. Environmental determinism, riddle me that one. It also wouldn't explain how things just kind of got the same way after a while, which is explained by our next one, environmental possibilism. Environmental possibilism says that humans change their environment a little bit, and their environments change them a little bit. The environment's going to set some limits on what they can do, which is going to be reflected by something like the Industrial Revolution. They both sort of support that, but determinism goes hardcore. Yeah, this was going to happen. This was predestined. Possibilism said, yeah, the environment helped, but the Europeans also just sort of did that, and that works for everywhere. It obviously set a limit on the Chinese because there was no coal there, but you might also say that if the Chinese opened their borders and took a bunch of coal, then they could have had the Industrial Revolution first, and they could have won. So here the humans are going to adapt and change their environment. They're going to set up the cultural standards that they want to. They're going to advance in technology as they want to within their ability and within their knowledge. Obviously, we all want to be super advanced, the alien race guys that fly at light speed, but we don't know how. We got to just hope for a little bit of luck there. Possibilism, yeah, there is still, Rashad asks, which one impacts us today? Possibilism, right? There's an argument over it, but possibilism is by far the more accepted one, other than in these groups that are arguing and saying, I think this is right because blank. It's normally things like Industrial Revolution, etc., things like that happen because they have a specific resource. But possibilism sort of accounts for that, which leads to it being much more respected, much more used. And obviously here, the humans are going to have a very active role in their relationship with the environment because they're going to change it, they're going to challenge it, they're going to say, hey, really, I don't like you very much, and I'm going to allow X thing in my culture because I felt like it. And I don't care what you say, Mr. Sand. Wrapping up the stream. That was almost it. I just want to quickly reiterate, follow Fiveable. It's at Think Fiveable. They got a Twitter, they got an Instagram, they got a YouTube. It's just Think Fiveable. It's just that easy. If for some reason you need to get in contact with me, I would recommend my Twitter. It is at SquappleThe2. I will put that in chat in case no one knows how to spell Squapple because I did just make it up. It's at SquappleThe2 on Twitter. I will probably get back to you if you need to message me. I'm not super active on there. I'm there to look at what Fiveable says because Fiveable says some cool things. If you want to join the Fiveable Discord, there's a Fiveable Discord. If anyone needs the Fiveable Discord, I will be more than happy to get the link, put it in chat. Does anyone want Fiveable Discord? There's students on there you can discuss content with. All right, someone wants it. Let me get that for you. I can do that. You're going to have to give me a hot second. So while I get that, our Q&A. This is Celeste. Our Q&A. What have you guys been going over in class for the last week, and what do you think you want to see on a stream? What's the kind of stuff you were like, man, I didn't get this in class so much. What am I supposed to do here? Can you guys help me out with this one? All right, let me get this link in. Remember, you guys just tell us what you've been over and what you want to see. Ooh, that's the wrong key. I hit the wrong key there. All right, if that link doesn't work, just tell me. I can try it again. I might have done a little whoopsie right there. All right, about to enter population and migration. You guys still in Unit 1? All right. We're getting close to wrapping up Unit 1. You were able to join? I do believe we're still in there. We're going to start moving on to our stuff next week. You said you had your test about to enter population migration? Cool, we're about to enter population migration. That's nice to hear. Is there anything you guys didn't get in class that you want to see, or are you guys doing all right? Because I know at the beginning of class, in my class, at least last year, there was a bit of a panic at the beginning of the year, and I would have loved to have someone to just reiterate something to me. If you guys think you're good, I can accept that. But if you don't, I'd love to know. I'd love to be able to help you out on that. I'll be able to do it right now if it's something that I can just take out of my head. I've gotten over my panic. That's nice to hear. My class was basically in perpetual panic for the majority of the year. It was pretty cool. You guys feeling good? Same? All right. That's pretty good. I hope you guys keep doing good in your things. Just last message, the Discord's there if you want to join the Discord. Fiveables are right there if you want to do the Fiveable things. It really is that easy. I'll be back on Thursday for the demographic transition model, possibly part 1. It's looking like it's going to be a one-parter stream. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Where's the stop streaming button on here before I do that? I think it's right there. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys Thursday. I hope you guys keep doing good. I hope you guys enjoy the streams we got. We got some nice stuff lined up. That was close to it. That was almost the right thing. Hey, what's up? I'm bigger now. Toggle video. Ooh, that's not it. All right. As I said, for the 8th time, enjoy your day. I hope you enjoyed the streams we got lined up. We got some good stuff. I'll be seeing you around.